on Bays. In this Sicha, the Rebbe discusses.
If you want to wait a minute,
yes.
The thing is not going to start until 8 o'clock.
Even though it says that it's streaming live.
A matter of 60 seconds.
I have no problem.
Go.
Okay, so we're going to continue the Sicha in Seif Hey. The Sicha here is speaking about Chodesh Adar. Chazal tell us Chodesh Adar is a special month, Bari Mazle, that the mazel of every single Yid is very powerful in this month. Not only Klal Yisrael, but a case where a person has a court case with a guy, and he's trying to overcome this. So what do? Delay the court case until the month of Adar. Now, if that's true about the argument or fight that you have with the guy, but Pashtas, Begashmi is how much more so with the guy Shebekirbacha. That if a person is struggling with the guy inside of him and he can't shake him off, what do? Schlep him into Chodesh Adar, Bari Mazle. Adar is a very strong mazel, and there's a koyach of simcha in this month that's paid together, and you can get him kenzachayitz again. If you tap into the essence of the soul, which is what the Sicha is about, that's what is revealed in the month of Adar. The Rebbe will explain this concept of mazel. There's a big question that the Rebbe is going to address here. Everybody knows the Maimah Chazal that says, page 40. Chazal tell us a Yid has no mazel. We're above mazalis. A mazel is a constellation. It's a certain level. The ruchnia is that corresponds to things that exist physically in this world. A Yid is way above that. There's no mazel for Yid. Ein mazel Yisrael. So what does this mean? That the Maila, the whole advantage of the month of Adar is Bari Mazle. It's almost like a Yerida. We're going down a level. All year, a Yid is above mazalis. Comes the month of Adar, what's the mile of the month? The fact that you have a mazel. And even if the mazel is strong, but the Yidden are way higher than a mazel. That's the linear that Rebbe will discuss here. Let's turn inside. V'yesh levayer toichene inyin deis gabrus mazolam shel Yisrael mitzad leidas Moshe b'chodesh Adar. We could explain what is this concept that the mazel of all Yidden is strong in this month. Why? Because Moshe Rabbeinu is born this month. The Rebbe explained before, Moshe Rabbeinu, the Rebbe of all Yidden, every Yid has connected to Moshe Rabbeinu. And if Moshe Rabbeinu's mazel is strong in this month, every single Yid, there's a Hizgabrus, the mazel by a Yid intensifies in this month. To explain this on a deeper level. Mazel de Yisrael, when it says here the mazel of Yidden, what is this really referring to? Koi al shayrish anasham l'mayla. It doesn't refer to the mazalis that exist in the world. Usually it talks about kechavim and mazalis. Those two things are synonymous. They go together. The stars and the constellations. That's in Teva. In the nature of the world, there's the mazalis. There's a famous Maimah Chazal regarding a grass, for example. Ein lecha esav lamata that doesn't have a mazal amayla. When you see a grass that's growing and it waves in the wind, there's a mazal amayla that's designated to be the source of the ashpa for whatever happens to a single blade of grass in this world. Everything, every leaf that falls, everything that happens goes through the keiches of Teva, through the keiches of the mazalis. That's usually what a mazal means. But over here, the Rebbe is telling you, in this context, the word of mazel, when we say here that in the month of Adar there's these gabrus of the mazel, it's not talking about the mazalis of nature. Mazel is a term that's used for the source of your neshama. Ki yidua, so it's known, sheyiridis haneshama lamata l'slabish beguf, when the neshama descends here below into a body, hi ha'ora me'aneshama bulvad. This is only a ray of the soul that is able to come down into a limited physical world and to be infused in the body of a person, in a Yid. Aval ikir haneshama, u'mekaira, the primary part of the neshama, the source of the neshama, nishal l'mayla. That stays removed, that does not become confined, does not become enclosed in a body. V'nikras mazel. And this part of the neshama is called mazel. Rabbi here brings a quote that it says in the Gemara, Adam the Islam Mazala. The Gemara there talks about the difference between a human being and an animal. The Gemara there is actually talking about, if I'm not mistaken, regarding a person that is going in a dangerous place. And a person is much less likely to be harmed when he's in a situation of danger than an animal that would be in the same location. Why? Because a human being has a mazel. I believe the Gemara also says a similar thing regarding a shoyer, an ox that gores. And once it gores 3 times, it becomes a muad. Right? But if it gores another animal, it gores, but not a human being is different. If it did not gore a human being, so then we're not going to define a status for this animal that he's going to come to gore a human being, because a human being is on a different level. A human being has a mazel that's protecting him. That's the Adam, the Islam Mazla. Or another expression, Chazal say, Hakol Toli b'mazel. Everything in a person's life is dependent on his mazel. So here, in this context, these terms of mazal and mazel that's used there is not the mazel in nature, but it's the mazel of the neshama of the yid, which is the shayrish of his neshama. Maloshin noizal. What does the term mazel mean? The word mazel means that it's the source from where your neshama is dripping from. It drips from that place, just like you have a source of water and it drips out one drop at a time. So the neshama, lamaila, is totally removed from whatever experiences are happening in the world. The neshama below becomes one with the body and it struggles with all the issues that it has in the body. The neshama has to deal with the nefesh habahamis directly. The neshama and the nefesh habahamis live in one heart and they're fighting together, and the neshama becomes very closely affected by what the nefesh habahamis is doing and experiencing. The neshama lamaila is pure, doesn't have anything to do with any of these struggles. It's lamaila. There's a noizal, there's drips that come out and give the person the chayas of his neshama here below. This is the source. From there it drips, the source of life, the spirit of life for a person below. That's the concept of mazel in this context. So now based on this, the Rebbe tells us a new pshat in the concept of ein mazel Yisrael. So now this, that the Gemara clearly says, ein mazel Yisrael, that a yid has no mazel at all. So how can we say that there's a concept of mazel by a yid? So now koi al mazalois hasarim v'kechavim ashachalak l'chol ha'amim. This refers to the mazalis that there are in nature. Every guy has a mazel, every minister has a mazel, every president, every king, and then for that matter, everything in the world is constantly being controlled by mazalis. That's the kind of mazel that is not she Yisraelim l'maylim mazalis elu. Yidden are completely above these type of mazalis that exist in nature. That's why a yid, could never come and decide or try to determine his future or even things about himself based on mazalis. A yid is higher than mazalis. There's certain kayches. Mazalis is a real kayach. So you have over there when it's tagnine pare. The stargazers by pare, they saw that asid mashin sheisrael shilke b'mayim. They saw that the leader of the yidden will be punished with water. Right? And based on that, they decided that they're going to throw all the children into the Nilus, and that's going to be the fulfillment of what they saw. But they didn't know what they were seeing, because what happened was many years later when they were in the Midbar, when they get to the Mei Meriva. Right? So that's what they see in the Mazalis. This doesn't mean anything. That's not, you can't, when it comes to a Yid, even if according to nature, the mazalis of nature say that the future of a person is in a certain way, and every person is born with a certain nature. Chesed, Gvura, some people are more Chesed oriented, another person is more Gvura oriented. Every nature that a person is born with has an advantage and has a disadvantage. The nature you have serves you, but the nature you have also inhibits you sometimes. The nature of a person, that is the aspect of the person that's connected to mazalis, the guf of the yid, which has a relation to the mitzias of teva, to the mitzias of the mazalis. But the neshama of a yid, the true identity of who a yid is way beyond that. So even if a person has a nature and the nature is sourced in those mazalis, but you can't ever feel stuck and limited by those natures that are based on the mazalis in the world. Chazal are coming and telling you see a certain nature you have. You see certain mazalis that you seem to be aligned with. I belong to this mazal, he belongs to that mazal, therefore things I could do, things I can't do. No, you should only make a mistake. Ein mazal Yisrael. A yid is not stuck in his nature, a yid is not stuck to his mazal. That's what Chazal are telling us. Avol, however, Gamli Yisrael, yesh mazal. But then there's a completely different interpretation of what mazal means. V'adarab, on the contrary, hamazal the Yisrael, the term mazal used for yidden who naile yoseh be'ein areich mishara mazalis. It's a completely different concept of mazal, infinitely greater than the mazalis that exist in nature. Ki hamazal shalahem, the mazal of yidden, what's the source of the mazal, of the shadish of the neshama of a yid, who mepchinas ayin, comes from the level of ayin. This is the pshat that's brought, that instead of reading the lashon of Chazal, ein mazal Yisrael, it should be read ayin. Mazel Yisrael. A level which is ayin. Ayin in the sense that it's something that's completely beyond our comprehension. It's not in our reality at all. We can't define it. We can't understand it. We can't relate to it. It's in a completely different reality. Looking from our perspective here below with the guf, it's ayin. We have no way how to define it. That's where the neshama of a yid comes from. Al derech mashakasav hachachma mayin tematzeh. The lashon that it says regarding chachma, the beginning of Seder Ishtalshalos, which is chachma. Where does it come from? From keser, which is ayin. Ayin she'ein musik, a level of ayin which is beyond comprehension. Ulechein yesh bahem inyan hamesiras nefesh shelamayla maseichel. This is the reason why every single yid possesses a power of mesiras nefesh. Even when a yid feels like he's stuck. I can't do more. It's impossible. But a yid is never stuck. A yid has a koyach of mesiras nefesh that will persevere. He'll continue going with a koyach that's infinite, that comes from this level of ayin. This is a koyach of the neshama, absolutely, yeah. Koyach for the neshama. That's what we're talking about over here. Yeah. In other words, if you're talking about the koyach of a yid, whether this has an influence on a yid's gashmizik life, whether it's regarding parnasa, health, or other things. So look, everything in a yid's life is related to his neshama in one way or another. Soft, the yid is everything in a yid's life. A yid's gashmis is ultimately ruchnius, right? Abisha gives us gashmis to turn it into ruchnius. So the influence of this ayin of your neshama will have an effect on even on the gashmizik life, on your parnasa and your gesund and so on, as we see. Even bepashtus, the survival of Klal Yisrael in Galus and persecution, and the survival of an individual yid, even begashmius, is different than it is by a guy. Even pashat begashmius, you see kipshute that a yid lives in this world in a different kind of a way, functions differently, has different needs, different lifestyle. There's just a different DNA, even bepashtus begashmius. Right? They say always the vart that you get onto a plane and the guy that all of a sudden is running up and down the aisle, he can't sit straight. It's a yid. He can't sit straight. Er kann nicht einsitzen. He has the neshama, the lust nicht sitzen. He's never been menucha. There's something different he has to do. So he has to that where does it come from? Comes from the neshama. Yeah, let's go weiter. This is emphasized in the birth of Moshe in the month of Adash. Yigama Leida Yisrael. The birth of Moshe Rabbeinu is the birth of every Yid, because Moshe Yisrael, Moshe Rabbeinu is in essence what every Yid is. It's one with every Yid. So why is this connected to Moshe Rabbeinu? Well, how is it this is the time of the revelation of the mazel, of the shirish of the neshama of every Yid?
So we're changing the word from ayin to ayin. That solves the problem.
Exactly. Ayin. We're really changing two things. We're changing the term mazel. Usually mazel means constellation. Not here. Here the word mazel means noiseless. Dripping, noisel. That's one thing we're changing. And also changing from en to ayin. Yeah. Okay. So now the birth of Moshe Rabbeinu. Ki leida kshuram etzem hametzias shalamayel mishem. The moment a child is born. So what happens? He's not born with a name. He's the etzem metzias is da. He's here. He comes into being into the world. That's the concept of a birth. Sherebesa leida in nikra b'shem. He doesn't have any name yet. It's just his very essence that comes into existence. So what that really hints to is, it hints to the birth of the essence of the neshama. Right, so this is a very geschmack word that Rebbe is saying it. The moment the child is born, why taka does he not have a name? Why should we maybe not give a child a name before he's born? Give a name if you can give a name of a boy or a girl. Theoretically, you can give a name even before the child is born. Okay, you can't give the name before. So you think that the reason that the name is given at a later period is a technical thing. Technically. So you have to make a mishuberach, or you have to wait for the bris. So that's why you give the name later. But really, the name theoretically should be given right at the beginning from the moment he's born. But the Rebbe says, no, it's not just a technicality. The fact that when a child is born, he doesn't have a name is al piha emes, because the moment he's born, so you think that there's a gashmias dig nivra that just came into the world. All of his evarim were developed after 9 months, and now he's fully developed physically as a body to be able to come into the world. And it's a gashmizik being that appeared in the world. No, it's not a gashmizik being. What really appeared in the world is a etzem. The etzem haneshama is coming here into the world. That's what's happening. And therefore, at that point, there's no name yet. The name is negayat to the hemshech of a yid's aveda. You want to take that essence, and you want to try to glean powers from the essence to apply it to the life of a person. So for that, you need a name, because the name will be Megala. A name is to open it up and to bring it out and to draw it down. But before you get to the name, you have to have the very essence. And that's the moment of birth. The moment of birth it's the shlichus of the very essence of the neshama that enters into the world. Which is, the Rebbe here says that it's actually even higher than Yechida. L'mayla afilim Yechida, higher even than the Yechida, which is the highest level of the neshama, of the 5 names of the neshama, Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama, Chaya, Yechida, Shagami, Shem, Letzam, Neshama. Even this is only a name for the essence of the neshama. Right? So many times it says, Yechida is the deepest part of the neshama, totally unified in one with Hashem. But sometimes the Rebbe would quote this in that it says in Chassidus that even Yechida is a name that describes something. It describes 2 entities that are getting vereinzigt. The Etzem has no name whatsoever, not even Yechida. So this is the concept that in the month of Adar, it's this essence of a Yid, it's this mazel that comes out. It's powerful. It's something you could access in this month more. Etzem and Neshama, B'chinas Ayin, B'chodesh Adar, in the month of Adar, this is revealed. So this concept of the birth of Moshe Rabbeinu is connected to Purim. So again, based on the Gemara, what does it say? The Rebbe quotes, according to the Gemara, the whole miracle of Purim comes about because of the birth of Moshe Rabbeinu. Haman made the decree thinking that it's a negative time for Klal Yisrael because it's the month that Moshe Rabbeinu passed away. But really, it's also the month that Moshe Rabbeinu was born. And his birth was the merit that annulled the decree. So the whole ness of Purim is a result of the birth of Moshe Rabbeinu. Okay, of course, we understand the birth of Moshe Rabbeinu is a tremendous chos. It brought about Yitzias Mitzrayim, brought about Matan Torah, and then there's the Moshe Rabbeinu of every generation. So it's a tremendous chos. But why? How is this specifically related to the content of what the ness of Purim stands for? The Rebbe explains it's not just a random schos, it's a specific schos related to what Yidden experienced at the time of Purim. Ki anu rayim. So here the Rebbe quotes from a lashon that it says, it's a lashon over from Torah, I believe. So the Alter Rebbe there says, Ki anu rayim shakala yamim shahayu b'nei Yisrael b'sakana. That all the time then, when Yidden were in danger, b'pnei gzeres Haman, because they had the decree of Haman upon them, hayu kulam b'pchinas mesiris nefesh mamish. That entire period of close to a year about, that the Gzeira was hanging over their head, the Yidden did not forsake their Yiddishkeit, they did not have any machshava to do anything, to assimilate. They stood in Mesiris Nefesh the entire time. Ki b'chol shah v'shah, every single moment, hoyu mechanem livsanavsham laharige v'loy laver al das chas v'shalom. They were constantly ready, and they did not bow down to Haman, they did not assimilate, and they were ready to die all the time, the entire year. Mesiris Nefesh, Al Kiddush Hashem, ready to die, Mamish Kipshuta Al Kiddush Hashem. Shaharei, so the Alter Rebbe there says, if Yidden would want to forsake Yiddishkeit, Amen would not touch them. Gazar Ela Ala Yehudim. How does the Alter Rebbe know this? Because the Megillah keeps on repeating Yehudim. It's the only time in the entire Tanakh that it says Yehudim. Otherwise, Yidden are called Bnei Yisrael. Why are Yidden here called Yehudim? Because they were Yehudim, that they were Maida and the Eivishter, and they rejected, they were Kaifer and Avodah Zarah. That's why Haman wanted to kill them. Ela shei masru atzmam lamus kol hashana kula. And then the Alter Rebbe says the famous line, V'loi Allah lahem machsheves chutz chas v'shalom. They didn't even have a thought. They didn't even have second thoughts about this. Not only that B'Pel Mamish do in Ma'aseh Nefesh, sometimes the person is thinking, maybe yeah, maybe not. After all, this is a major sakana. Alter Rebbe says, not even a thought. Not even a thought to it. How does Alter Rebbe know this? Huh? Like also daita ma'ivim machsheves chutz.
Also, like even like Memela.
Yeah, okay, could be. Alter Rebbe repeats this in Torah actually more than once, a few times there. It says it in Torah 2 or 3 times. Alter Rebbe says this Nekuda. This is one of the chidushim of the Alter Rebbe. To put him. There's 2 points that the Rebbe is saying. Number one, that the whole Gzeira of Haman was only on Yehudim, not only on Yidden, but it had to be Dafka Yehudim. So, B'Pashtus, you look in Paiskim, it may at least seem that that's not the case. One of the famous things that it says about the difference between Chanukah and Purim is Chanukah, the main Gzeira was on Lashkichem Teresecha Lavirim Mechukir Tzenecha. The Yevanim didn't mind that Yidden should be live life beautiful, and adarabah, they should use the wisdom of Torah and the beautiful culture of Judaism and live with it. But the Yiddishkeit, the Torah, the connection to the Eibishter, that they wanted to get rid of, the religion. Mashenki, when it came to Purim, it always says, no, Purim, you wanted to kill the bodies, the Gashmis, to get rid of Klal Yisrael. And that's the reason why Chanukah is celebrated, that is, through Ruchnias, through lighting the Menorah, and so on. And Purim is celebrated through Gashmias, a Mishta, Simcha, because that's where the main Gzeira and the main Nest was regarding the Gashmias of a Yid. That's what it says always. Rebbe brings this also from the Taz, from the Levush, from the Paiskim. But here the Alter Rebbe is saying that even Purim, although the Gzeira was to wipe out Lahashmid Larig Abid, the Gufim of the Yidden, but nevertheless, if the Yidden would be ready to forsake Yiddishkeit, they would have saved themselves. So it's true, it was different than Purim, because the initial Gzeira was on the Guf. By Chanukah, they never made a Gzeira on the Guf in the first place. They're sort of opposites from each other. Chanukah, the Gzeira started with Lashkichem Torah Secha. When Atiyeche saw that he's not being successful with Lashkichem Torah Secha, so he came to fight with the Yidden and waged war against them, even to kill out their bodies as well. Purim was the other way around. The Gzeira initially was Lahashmid Larig Abid, the bodies, the physical existence of Yidden. But Haman said, listen, if you're going to come and assimilate and become one of us, then you'll be saved. That's the first chiddush of the Alter Rebbe. The second chiddush is even a machshava. The fact that Yidden were b'poel mamish moise nefesh, that says in Midrashim that we know, that it says in the Megillah, the story that Yidden were moise nefesh. But the Alter Rebbe is saying not even a machshava, and the entire Klal Yisrael. Alter Rebbe is talking about the entire Klal Yisrael, that generation had the koyach that le'ol sadait machshavas chutz. There's one place in the Maimon of Tut Altz, actually, the Rebbe says that this was the koyach of Mordechai. The Medrash says, Mordechai b'dayrei k'Moshe b'dayrei. The influence of Mordechai in his generation was so powerful that he not only brought Yidden to Mesiras Nefesh, but he brought them to this Nekuda of le'ol sadait machshavas chutz. He had no doubts. They were 100%, not even one of the Yidden. They were all there together. Le'ol sadait machshavas chutz. Tremendous chiddush this. That was before the Gzeira. Before the Gzeira. After the Gzeira, once the Gzeira came about, and the Gzeira itself was Ma'ir, the Mesiras Nefesh, with the influence of Mordechai, so after that, they also daita machshavas chutz.
Shows the greatness of his influence. That even Yidden that were all
that went
to go to Suda.
And nanu, they enjoyed and they partied and the chulu. Yeah, they still afterwards were part of it. So where does this power come from? This koyach of Mesiras Nefesh. This is only from the essence of a Yid. If you try to tap into any level that's not the very essence, this kind of Mesiras Nefesh is not going to be possible. It comes from the very essence of the neshama. This is exactly what the birth of Moshe is. Gilui, Leida Gamaloshin, Gilui, Leida also means birth, which means to when the child comes out into the open world, to bring out the essence of the Yid into the world. Yeah, okay, let's continue. So we can add now another point to this. This is hinted in the expression that the Gemara says, Sha'adar bari v'takif mazle. Adar is a time period where it's the mazel of a Yid is very healthy and strong. Sha'mazel hu ba'izn shal chayzik v'takif al derech v'gavi Yisrael. It's not only the mazel. The mazel is the essence of the neshama that's always there. That essence in the month of Adar is b'taikif. What does this mean? I mean, the etzem is something that doesn't exactly change. The etzem is what it is. Revelation, there can be degrees to a level of revelation, higher, more, less, closer, further. The essence, that's the very core. It's the very essence of the Yid. What does it mean, bari mazle? So the Rav explains. Kivin sheba adam is gaber, mazalim shel Yisrael, b'chinas ayin, etzem aneshama. So there's a revelation. This etzem, which is always there, comes out. It's revealed. Azayim is gala hachayzik v'ataykiv bari v'takiv the etzem aneshama mazle. What it really means is, it's not that there's the bari mazle does not mean that there's the essence of the neshama that's one, has one nature all year, and then other this etzem is stronger. The etzem doesn't get stronger or weaker. The whole point of the etzem is that nothing could strengthen it and nothing could weaken it. It's not prone to any changes, b'chlal. When it says bari mazle, what it's bari mazle is a description of the neshama itself. The neshama itself is the real brius. What is brius? Is when a person is healthy. Every person in his life can be healthy, but then you can get ill and you can get healthy. It's all relative. Sometimes you're more healthy, sometimes less healthy. And even when a person is healthy, you can be even healthier. But the neshama, the essence of the neshama, that's be'etzem healthy. It's a wholesome, healthy existence that has no chesronos. It lacks nothing. It's not missing anything. It's really be'etzem body. So body mazle is a description of what this etzem is. It doesn't mean that it becomes stronger. It's the real body and the real tkifis, the emes tkifis. It's nizgala. The only point is that in this time of the year, it's more available to access, to connect to this level. The kudas hayadis, the pintel yid, shebekol echad vechad mi Yisrael, within every single yid, sheyesh baya chayzik va'atekev limsa nafshak tushishmei yisbarach. And with this strength that every yid has to have this nefesh for the Eibishter. Another point there is the fact that this is a month where the etzem of a yid is revealed is hinted in the very name of the month itself. Adar. What is the name of the month? What is the translation of the word Adar? Even though the months are names that came from Bavel and they're not really Aramaic. They're not really Lashon Kodesh words. So not necessarily would they have any meaning. But the Rebbe would always translate months, the titles of the months, not all of them, but some of them that I would translate it and explained what they mean. So if you hear, what does the word Adar mean? The name of the month itself means strength and might. There's a Gemara that says, a person that wants that his possessions, his properties should stay in good shape. It shouldn't get the value of the properties shouldn't go down or any other loss that he has in his properties that he owns. So the Gemara says, what should you do? Yita behem Adar. Plant in one of your properties a tree, and the name of this tree is Adar. I never saw which kind of tree this is, and I never saw people. In other words, this Maim B'Chazal, whether you learn it Kipshute or not Kipshute, there's a certain tree that's called Adar, and you plant it. And the Gemara says, what's the source for this? Shenemar Adir B'Marem Hashem. That the Eibishter, which is exalted, is Adir, is strong and mighty. Okay, so you see from the Gemara, what it basically means is, you have a lot of properties, you have a lot of investments, you want to be sure that it doesn't go sour. Bring in that shutef, bring in that partner, the Adei B'Marem Hashem, into your business. Include him. Plant the Eibishter, the Adei B'Marem Hashem, into your business, into your investments, into your properties. That will bring the kiyum to you in the chasam. Kalaima. So what do you see here? Sha'adar loshen kiyum v'chayzik. Adar means it's something that will last and something that's strong and firm. Ulachay nikra adar. That's what the word Adar means. So therefore, if that's the name of the month, what does this mean? This is a month when the strength of Yidden is very much emphasized. The Gemara there says, it's actually in a different place, the Gemara says that one of the names of Yidden is Adirim, the mighty ones. Adirim Elu Yisrael. It refers to the Yidden. That the Eibishter desires Yidden, and he refers to them as Adirai, my strong ones. Adir Moloshen Chayzik v'Oimetz is the strength and the might of a Yid, which is L'Schazik b'Avedis Bayram. The Marsha there says, what's the strength of a Yid? That when a Yid has challenges in his Avedis Hashem, a Yid could be strong. A Yid has the Kayach of a Neshama to overcome all tests and all challenges. Kailul Miyuchad, especially HaChayzik v'Oimetz L'Mesiris Nefesh be'Echad Shalamayla Ma'aseichel. The power, the true strength of a Yid comes from the Mesiris Nefesh. Any other level of strength is prone to changes. A person has a strength of conviction, a strength of his rotzen, of his neshama, all those levels of strength. When you're very convinced strongly about something and you think you have the clarity of seichel that gives you a strength, it's something that could be changed. Someone else that's smarter than you that can come to you and change your mind and ask you questions, and it'll weaken your resolve. The only resolve that cannot be changed if it comes from your very core, from your very essence. That's something that can't be changed. This is the famous word that the Rebbe says in the Maim Sicha Tetzaveh. It's even stronger than the certainty that a person has when you see something. Even though it says that once you see something, nobody can come and ask you questions about this. Nobody can come and weaken your opinion about this. I saw it with my very own eyes. So how could you come and tell me that they asked me questions that maybe didn't happen? So there's no, when you understand something and you in conviction, that could be challenged, but not what you saw with your very own eyes. But in the Maim Sicha Tetzaveh, the Rebbe's Machadish, even something that you saw with your very own eyes, so you know that this is the truth, but not necessarily is that going to bring out within you a strength to act upon what you saw. The neshama l'mayla sees godliness with the greatest certainty and clarity. But that vision that the neshama has will not necessarily bring a person to the absolute mesiras nefesh. Why? Because in the end of the day, there's me and there's what I saw. The very essence of the person is, this is your very essence. This is who you are. At the very core, this is you. It's not two entities that you are connecting to the Eibishter through, whether through seichel, even through vision. This is your very core. That's the biggest strength that can never be changed whatsoever. So this is also what the Medrash means when it says, Adar ein lo ischus umazale ein lo ischus. Adar is a month that there's no merit in this month, and the mazel of this month has no schus. This is what Haman said. It says that the Medrash describes, we learned it last time, that Haman went looking and searching which is the month where the Yidden are weak. And he discovered Adar is a month that he sees nothing, no yontiv in this month, no mazel, nothing positive for the Yidden in this month. That's what the Medrash says. Once you see that what happened the month of Adar, Moshe Rabbeinu is born, and therefore this is the month where the mazel, the source of the neshama of Yid, is very powerful in this month. So what happens? What's revealed then? Ayin. Hamazal Yisrael, Ayin, which is the source of the mazel of Yidden, who has chus shel Adar mazali. This is the real chus of the month. So the point is, when Haman was examining the month and trying to figure out, Haman could only see up to a certain degree in the level of Seder Ishtalshalos, and maybe even above Seder Ishtalshalos. It says that Haman was a very powerful person, even Baruchnius. He built a tree that was high 50 amas, which refers to the fact that he wanted to reach to a level of Makkah, but not to the very etzem. When he saw that the month of Adar has no mila to it, that's true. Begiluyim, and Seder Ishtalshalos, b'chitzaynius, but at Adar, as far as the etzem of a Yid, the month of Adar is much more powerful. And that's what Haman missed, because Haman can't see that kind of a schos that a Yid has. Okay, we'll just finish off quickly with one ha'ara, beautiful ha'ara 75, one more minute. It says that the month of Adar, every month has his, 92. It's 92 over there. Okay. So what happened? Why did he miss this mazel? The month of Adar has a mazel of dogim, which is very positive. It's like the nature of fish. The fish multiply. There's no ayin hara in the fish. That's a very positive mazel. Why did he miss that? It's a month where there's no ayin hara on the Yidden. So the answer is dogim koi ala etzem di Yisrael. Dogim, which are entities that it's a fish. They live inside the water, covered in their source. They're covered. Covered means that this is the essence of the Yid, which is covered. This was a kind of a mazel that Haman missed. Haman is only able to see the revealed levels of nature or of the mazel of Yidden that's revealed, but not this etzem. The etzem of Yid, Haman missed. That's the Kodesh.
Yeah, that's right. I agree.
Yeah, it's chus of tzaddikim, not the very essence. Yeah. Okay.
You want to pick up